Tonight we're going to recognize Paul Pulley, a person who has been a member of this group, who's been a legislator, who carried our order in the General Assembly, who has been a lobbyist for all kinds of interests, but mostly for positive, progressive groups like us, and somebody who's lobbied with side by side with me for a decade. I want to tell you a little bit about Paul and why we're recognizing him. But Paul grew up in Durham. He was a great athlete, and he played semi-pro baseball when he was in high school, and went to UNC and was on the football team. And when he then went to Carolina Law School, Paul was an assistant coach while he was in law school under George Barclay. So that might, the fact that I know about Barclay dates me a little bit. But Paul left UNC Law School to go initially with Manning Fulton in Raleigh. And then he went back to Durham and opened his own practice, which has grown into the firm, the Pulley firm, that our incoming president is a member of right now. Paul, when I first met Paul, I told him I might tell this story. When I first met Paul, it was about 1985, and I was the director of Legal Services of North Carolina, which is the statewide legal services program. And we were in the middle of the Reagan administration, and Senator Helms had a lot of influence on the members of the Legal Services Corporation Board, and they decided that the group I was directing was a little bit aggressive in terms of representing migrant farm workers and advocating in the legislature for the rights of poor people. And so they sent a SWAT team of former fraud agents from the FBI to the legislature because there was a complaint made by a young Republican legislator who was a member of Paul Pulley's Judiciary Committee. Paul was a powerful legislator, chair of the Judiciary Committee, and they sent this guy complaining because we were lobbying against one of Paul's bills. Now, I said Paul mainly did positive things. This was a bill to increase the interest rates on small loan companies. So we said it was usury. Anyway, so there was this 1,500-page indictment of the Legal Services Program in North Carolina, and the proposal was really to take away all our funding. And so we went to Washington to fight for our lives in a hearing before the National Legal Services Corporation. And our key witness was Paul Pulley, who came to say that that all the business interests have lives, and that they don't have extensive staff, and the interest of poor people and consumers would not be heard without this little group of legal aid lobbyists that were lobbying against this damn bill. And so he came to protect our interests, and he testified to that effect in front of this packed group and a key moment in the history of the legal services program. And then there was this woman, her name was Leanne Bernstein. I don't know if you remember that, Paul, but she had been a former Republican member of the Illinois legislature. And she asked about an 8-minute question, Paul, which was this wandering thing about, do you think that it's socialistic to have government money being used to undermine free enterprise? And how can you be supportive of all of this? And then she stopped, and Paul said, "Ma'am, could you repeat the question?" And that was kind of the end. That was the end of our investigation by LSC, and it was also kind of the beginning of a real friendship between Paul Pulley and myself. So Paul left the legislature and became a lobbyist, and he was one of the biggest lobbyists in Raleigh. Well, he was a big guy, but he was one of the most influential lobbyists in Raleigh. He had lots and lots of clients, but his anchor clients were NCAE and the Academy of Trial Lawyers. Randolph Cloud, who is here, where's Randolph? Randolph's right here. Randolph started his lobbying career working with Paul and they achieved the dues checkoff for the NCAE, which the current Republican legislature has just repealed. So it took them a long time to get rid of your guys' work. And Paul was representing us, and so so he left the legislature, became a lobbyist, but he was also an extraordinary litigator. And he, as many people know, had one of the first lawyers to have pretty tremendous verdicts, and one was Gregg against Duke Power on an electrocution case that was quite significant. So Paul, I don't know which was more lucrative. He was surprised, he told me, to find out how lucrative lobbying was, but he also had big cases, so he went back to being a litigator in Durham. And he did that until Paul became ill. I don't really remember when that was. It was around, I don't know, 2000, 1999 or something like that. And then Joan Pulley, who's here, Joan and Paul went to both for his like convalescence and recuperation and everything, and lo and behold, the damn guy got well. He just recuperated, and in 2003 we were in a whale of hurt. That was when Senator Bass Knight said on the radio, and almost ran off of I-40, when I heard on the radio Bass Knight say that we really need to have medical malpractice tort reform in North Carolina. I was like, oh, whoa, what is this about? And so we raised some money, and it was a time not unlike what we're going through now, and we hired Paul Pulley to come work with us. And so for 5 sessions, for almost a decade, I've had Paul Pulley at my side, and we've done a lot of good things. Mainly we have been good at defense. I would be remiss in not saying that the major offensive move that Paul has always tried for in the North Carolina General Assembly was to establish comparative fault. He passed a comparative fault bill in the 80s. We passed a comparative fault bill in 2009 in the House. So we passed it twice in the House, and Paul did that twice. But we could never get it out of the North Carolina Senate. So despite all of the victories, Paul, that we've had together, the road's still in front of us, and we haven't accomplished protecting the civil justice system, and the justice system is something that remains a challenge. But Paul, if you come up here, I want to give you something from all of us. I should say also, and I meant to say this, that the reason Paul's not working with me now is that, and we intended to work together, is he's again having some health issues. And I certainly hope that this again is a situation where down in Carteret County, I don't know what's going on, but you lick the things in front of you and come back with us.
We'll try again.
But this, let me see if I can read it. This says...
This doesn't look like a check.
I've told Paul many times, Paul does not undervalue his service. This is a nice pewter tray, I guess. It says, W. Paul Pulley, Jr., the lawyer's lawyer. In grateful appreciation for his exemplary service in the pursuit of justice as a member, legislator, lobbyist, and leader of the North Carolina Advocates for Justice, Wilmington, June 16, 2012.
I just appreciate this from the bottom of my heart. It was interesting today listening to Mary Ann talk a little bit about the history the academy. And I was interested the other day after I was told that this was in the works, exactly when I became a member, and it was early. My membership number is 55, and we have 4,000 members now, so that was a pretty good while ago. It's been a wonderful pleasure to work for you and with you and to participate with you. I have so many members. Going to the law practice, I remember Dick mentioned the Cole versus Duke Power case. I remember telephoning Bill Thorpe after the verdict came in and telling him that I had plagiarized his jury speech that he did in the case against CP&L just a few years before. And I did. I went to the Supreme Court to get the record of the case, read his record, and many of the same things applied. Bill was pretty unhappy because I got more money than he did. But I was very, very happy. The talent of this group is just a magnificent force and a magnificent help, whether you're practicing law, whether you are trying to persuade the legislature. I've been getting some bad news lately on the health side. And Dick and I were talking not long ago, and he said, well, haven't you heard anything that was good news? And I said, well, the only good news I know is that this situation has meant that I didn't have to go down to the legislature this year and deal with it. That's a pretty poor exchange, I'd say. But I'm thrilled to have represented you and worked with you, and look forward to continuing. Thank you.